Ladies and gentlemen, happy Halloween and welcome to a special video where I am going to be giving every NFL team their Halloween costume. This video is meant to be fun. I hope you guys have fun with it, and this video is actually going to feature some of you guys because I put on Twitter that I was making this and some of you guys threw out some hilarious ideas. Couple of plugs as always. Don't forget to check out G Fuel, don't forget to check out Waggle, and don't forget to use code WyattzWorld at sign up on Prize Picks to guarantee yourself to win a free $50 with your first $5 entry. However, please always remember to play responsibly, and let's get into the video. Okay, so starting off with the AFC South, I'm just kind of going by divisions because that's how I have it listed. We will begin with the Tennessee Titans. Their Halloween costume would actually be NFL football players. You know, Halloween is supposed to be the day where everybody pretends to be something that they're normally not. And well, since the Titans are not normally a football team, I think today's a perfect day to pretend like they are one so they can actually know what it feels like. Moving on to the Colts and specifically Daniel Jones, and this one comes from Twitter. It actually comes from Matt W. But Matt says Daniel Jones is Doofy from Scary Movie, and if you have seen that movie, you will understand the reference, and if you haven't, basically the entire movie, Doofy is a cop who's just a complete idiot, sucks at his job, and then at the end of the movie it turns out he was not only a complete genius, but the main antagonist of the movie, just a complete 180. Moving on, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They would show up as a bunch of WWE wrestlers because much like the WWE, the Jags are extremely entertaining to watch, but everybody knows they're not for real. I really thought they were for 1 week. Now moving on, we have the Texans. They would be Hugh Hefner. For those unfamiliar, he was the founder of Playboy magazine, and that's just kind of a layup joke when you have two people on your team named Woody and Chubb. Now moving on to the AFC East, we have the Buffalo Bills, and this one's kind of directed towards Josh Allen, but he would be Super Mario. He just jumps over things and throws bombs. Next up is the Jets. They would be Count Dracula. Because every single week they suck the life out of their fan base. Moving on to the Patriots, I almost had them as a zombie, but that was just a little bit too easy, you know, since they came back to life. I would say the Patriots this year dress up as Freddy Krueger, because not only do they torment me during the day, but they haunt me in my fucking sleep. And ending the AFC East with the Dolphins, they would show up dressed as a bunch of patients that belong in an insane asylum. Because much like an insane asylum, nobody there has any idea as to what is going on. Moving on to the AFC West, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. They would be Michael Myers. Because just when you think they're dead, just when you think you've lost them, they come right back every single time. Moving on, we have the Broncos. They would dress up as Joe Buck. This is more of a reference to Sean Payton, but I think they're great at what they do. I just don't like them. Always had the utmost respect in the world for Joe Buck. I've always had the utmost respect in the world for Sean Payton, but they have both always come off to me as complete assholes. Now we got the Raiders. I know I've used this joke before, but it's just too good. They would dress up as possums because they play dead at home and get killed on the road. And ending the West with the Chargers, they would show up as a bunch of Walmart employees because when you need them most, they are nowhere to be found. And ending the AFC with the North, we got the Browns. They would dress up as Baker Mayfield. So that way they can remember not only how good it was to have him, but how good it still could be to have him. Now we got the Cincinnati Bengals. They would be archaeologists due to the fossil that they just acquired in Joe Flacco. That or they show up as the Three Blind Mice, strongly resembling their defense. Now we got Pittsburgh, and this one comes from Muth Nation on Twitter. I love this one. He says the Steelers just show up as the Steelers because they refuse to change. I think that's great. And ending the AFC, we have the Ravens. I would dress them up as a bunch of sumo wrestlers to resemble the amount of weight Lamar Jackson pulls every time he plays a game. Night and day a different team when he plays. They just skin the Dolphins alive. By the way, is McDaniel fired yet? Now moving on to the NFC, starting with the North, we have the Minnesota Vikings. They would show up as the Pringles guy. Seriously, I look at the Viking season just like I look at a can of Pringles. I'm always excited to rip into the can. I'm always excited for the start of the season, only to look inside and see that they're all broken and leave me extremely disappointed. Now moving on to Green Bay, they would be Hellraiser because that is pretty much exactly what that team has been doing ever since acquiring Micah Parsons, just raising hell. I want to be honest, I just like that name. I don't think I've ever actually seen the movie Hellraiser. Hellraiser. Is it good? Is it even worth watching? Moving on to the Lions, they would be Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader, because they went from a innocent kid with a bunch of potential that everyone wanted to root for into a power-hungry, arrogant asshole. They went from the protagonist to the antagonist. And ending the NFC North, we have the Bears. They would show up as Nickelback. People love to shit on them, but deep down, they're not bad. Now moving on to the NFC West, we have the 49ers. They would dress up as China dolls. You know, those little wooden things that break open and they just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but they never actually completely deplete. Just like the 49ers team, man. Every time you think they're broken, you just find out that they have more inside and they never go away. Moving on, we have the Rams. They would be the Terminator, and that's strongly a Matt Stafford reference. Because much like the Terminator, Matt Stafford's a guy who's in his near 40s now, murdering anybody who steps in his way. Now moving on to the Cardinals, they would show up as the cast of The Big Bang Theory. Because much like that show, I can only watch the Cardinals for about 30 seconds before turning the channel. And ending the West with the Seahawks, they would be John Wick, because they are just beating the shit out of everybody in complete silence. I don't hear them right now, and this would be the time when Seahawk fans, you know, should be talking. The team should be talking. Bro, they're just dropping bodies and moving on, just like John Wick. Now moving on to the NFC East, we have the Cowboys. This one comes from The Real Con Man on Twitter. He said this could work for any team, but they would show up as Charlie Brown in his ghost costume from the episode called The Great Pumpkin, and I think this fits perfectly because much like Dallas's defense, there's a million fucking holes. Moving on to Philly, they would be Orange Shirt Prime John Cena. You know, the dominant champion that just used like the 4 same moves over and over again and somehow still won every match. Now moving on to the Giants, and this one is from Grim Zhao Da King. I'm sorry, I probably butchered that handle, but he said the Giants would be Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, because that resembles their fan base. They're just depressed. Everything is just okay. And ending, we have the Commanders. This one comes from Luke Evans on Twitter. He says they would show up as Yoda because the players on their roster are approximately 900 years old. I was gonna say retirement home. I thought that was a much better costume there. And ending with the NFC South, we will start with the Saints. They would be Jar Jar Binks from Star Wars. Because, you know, they're technically part of the league. Jar Jar is technically part of the franchise. But nobody talks about them, and every time they're brought up, everyone just takes a big shit on them. Now we got the Falcons. This one is from the Rico Real. He says they would be Harry Two-Face from Batman, or is it Henry Two-Face? Either way, it fits perfect because that's who the Falcons are, completely Two-Face. One week they go out there and they're great. One week they go out there and they're the most vile thing you've ever seen. Now moving on, we have the Bucks. They would be Bob the Builder, because with the amount of things breaking down, injuries, they are able to rebuild it and make it work. Baker the Builder, can he do it? Baker the Builder, yes he can. And ending with the Panthers, and more so Bryce Young, they would be Chucky. Because much like Chucky, Bryce Young is an innocent, nice little guy that you're not really too scared of. Then you make him a little bit angry and he turns into a possessed, violent little demon that ruins your fucking life. And that is going to do it, folks, for me giving every NFL team their Halloween costume. Thank you for anybody who helped out with the recommendations. And thank you to anybody who watched this video. If you guys enjoyed this and you want to show support, please do it, because you know I appreciate any and all help. However, in the meantime, I'm going to get this whipped up so you guys can all watch it on time and get a start to your weekend. So I hope you all have a great one, and I will see you in the next video.